What's up, current and future disc golf addicts? If you haven't watched the previous video, go look at that. This is a part of a quick disc golf trip I made over to Belgium to play the number 2 and now the number 1 rated disc golf course in Belgium, Parc Bourdon, just outside of Brussels. One of my favorite courses that I've played, park style with some wood still, and just some fantastic holes to play. Hole 1, I ended up pinching myself on the drive, trying to throw a flex shot with a harp, have it land flat, but leaking left. Not much to do other than pitch out and just guarantee that par. This course is most known for the Belgium Open, which is played here on the EuroTour, and so an opportunity also to come and watch how the pros tackle the course, and the closest EuroTour to the Netherlands. Hole 2, you're pitching out the gap, one single guardian tree in the middle of the fairway, and I'm playing this big hyzer around. Ended up landing very close to OB. Depending on the tournament, I believe the OB lines can be slightly different there, cashing in the birdie putt. Hole 3, unfortunately I did have some technical difficulties. I ended up throwing my Explorer, pulling it a little to the right, and leaving myself maybe with a 13 or 14 meter putt for birdie. Hole 4, much more uphill than what it might seem like on the camera. I'm still relying on my go-to Wraith here, where I can throw it flat or on hyzer and really get that glidey push out of it. And with that sloped green as well, plenty of opportunity for rollaways here. So just wanted to get that close and getting the thumbs up from Philip. Hole 5, which is normally hole 1 of the tournament layout, played here. Island hole. I'm trying my soft harp to try avoid any skips. Plenty of space. Choose whatever you're comfortable with. For me, that's more often than not this flat to fade shot with a harp on that hole. And a rare par actually, where normally you see either birdies or bogeys, depending on whether you make the island or not. Hole 6, guarantee your par unless you have that power in 130 meter forehand or that touch to throw something on a backhand on hyzer that flips very late. But again, a very technical shot that also requires power. Hole 7, danger left and right with the OB. I'm trying to throw my Explorer flat, get it to drift a little bit right and come back towards the basket. Again, very fortunate here. Almost landing OB left. If I remember correctly, I was even on the OB line. I'm getting a little frisky, still trying to run the putt. Knowing that I was putting well, but thankfully getting that par still. Hole 8, this is one I've notoriously struggled with. Tried throwing a flex forehand with how grown in the hole has been, and end up finding a really bad spot here where I'm trying to make any forward progress that I could there, knowing that par was out of the question. And a little bit of a half bid to see if I can make some magic happen for a par. Hole 9, this will be a little bit hard to see, but I'm throwing my Roadrunner here on a roller. And if you can see off to the right corner, there's actually 2 people who are playing badminton. And so I end up almost rolling through their nets. Thankfully, we did warn them ahead of time. And they actually had to end up moving the nets a little bit so I could throw my approach and not hit it. But again, with that drive, I pitched myself off going too far. And so just kind of trying to pitch into the gap. And then maybe I could get myself a long putt. Hole 10, the signature hole of the course. Doesn't matter what you throw off the tee as long as you throw it straight. And I get very unfortunate with that kick deep right. At this point, there's this single path that crosses the fairway, and so I was extremely happy to already get there. And with that slopey part, just pushing past the path again, throwing a standstill with my rock 3, ended up turning out perfectly, and probably one of my better par saves that I could have ever asked for. Hole 11, basket is very high up to the right. Again, with that forehand anhyzer release, I'm still not getting much power and just not comfortable with it generally, and so fading out a little early. And also with that approach to not nearly as close as you would like to be. But squeaking it over that rim. And walking with the par onto hole 12. Hole 12, nice little floaty putter shot again, throw it straight. And this one is sneaky downhill where even though it's 80 meters, it does feel like it plays a lot shorter. I end up tagging some of those limbs that are hanging over, leaving myself with a long putt. And same with those putts too. You can go surprisingly far if you do end up missing the basket and airballing it. Hole 13, arguably one of the hardest holes on the course nowadays. Also with the tee being tucked back into the bush line. On this day it was very slippery, and so I ended up just slipping and not having much, where I'm trying to pitch up to the second corner with my defender. And then approaching from there, trying to play for that par. This is one where it is very hard to get into a place where you would have any look at a guaranteed birdie. You have to earn it with 2 great shots. Hole 14, plenty of space out right. Normally there is an OB line somewhere halfway down the grass. I end up leaking my drive a little left. And I thought it was going to be in the ditch, but actually get super lucky to be hanging half inbounds. And so from there, being so close to the ditch, I had to throw a standstill again. Trying to pitch up for a very long putt. So that would have been my birdie look. And so a little bit of focus issues here, and end up carding a very silly bogey. One that I definitely should have made. And I forget what this hole is specifically, but this is one where I remember I've always had issues of early releasing and ending up left. And so here I'm just facing a little bit of a mental block, honestly. But thankfully had a lane to pitch up through, hit the gap, carded my par, and moving on. Hole 16 might be one of the most satisfying drives I've hit in a while. Dead center again with my Explorer. And previously it used to have a double Mando as well. I didn't even pay attention if it does still, with how tight the gap is. Even then, still an inside gap that I had to take with my Recco there, and skidding up all the way to the basket. Carding one more birdie. This would have been the first time that I've played this new hole 17 that you would have seen in the tournament coverage if you've watched the Belgian Open here. Unfortunately, we played it at a time when the grass was a little high, so it's hard to see where the discs were exactly flying, and intimidating to still hit that triple Mando and get your disc low enough. Hole 18, again, plenty of OB to be found. It is a very tight inside forehand hyzer that you want to be hitting, and so if you can stay anywhere near the path, you're off to a great start. And so here I am just throwing a hyzer with my Thunderbird over the right side, practically parking it. So this would have been actually my new personal best with a -1. With that being said, there's tons more disc golf content coming your way, so don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to tune back in. Thanks for watching.